Hey everybody, it's Skully. So, I had debated making a video about this, but, I wanted to talk about my caffeine addiction. I understand that this kind of addiction is probably not the same as something harder like alcohol or drugs, but caffeine was my vice. Probably, I don't recall having much of a vice with caffeine when I was a teenager. I felt like my favorite thing I liked to drink when I was a teenager, when I was in high school, was probably chocolate milk. It was probably a lot healthier than some of the caffeine and energy drinks that I consume now, because when my caffeine addiction started, it started when I was in college. I was in my 20s. It just I don't really know if I necessarily relied on it to stay awake per se, but with some of the medications I've been on throughout my life, it is very hard to stay awake. So that is kind of where the caffeine kind of started. But I also just like the way that caffeine makes me feel, because it makes me feel very elated, very euphoric, like when I'm manic with my bipolar disorder. The caffeine kind of mimics that same feeling. So I found myself getting addicted to the feeling of being energized and being euphoric, feeling good, because caffeine is a mood elevator. So it makes sense that with somebody with bipolar disorder, where you have the mood instability and stuff, that you would probably gravitate towards something that makes you feel good. People also tend to like me more when I was on caffeine. I was more outgoing, more energetic, kind of like when I was manic. I found myself being more extroverted and conversing with people, and sometimes when I was manic or on caffeine, my speech would get really fast so that people had a hard time keeping up with it. But I don't know, I just kind of felt like a different person, I guess. And I liked who I was, and I was like that. I was more approachable, I was more outgoing, I was kind of like the life of the party. But then you fast forward to my 30s, and then the caffeine consumption kind of starts to get out of control. I probably have to have 4 to 5 energy drinks. I mean, not energy drinks, I'm sorry. I probably have to have 4 to 5 caffeinated drinks. So any combination of tea, coffee, energy drinks to really kind of function. And part of that is because of the medications I'm on, and part of it is just because I feel like if I don't have caffeine, it's very hard to get through the day. I find myself getting very tired. Sometimes even when I have the caffeine, it makes me more tired sometimes. But I don't wanna like get a headache or whatever from not having caffeine. So it does kind of make me feel like, hey, I have to have that, and it's just crazy, because I don't really like to throw the word crazy around too much, because it's, kind of a hurtful word, but it's just it's just intense to think about, because I just feel like when I was a teenager, I never dreamed of myself getting addicted to something like caffeine, and the headaches that people get from like the withdrawal symptoms and stuff, and I never had any of that. And now in my 20s and 30s, it's like, wow, I don't know, I guess it kind of got the best of me, and now it's like I feel like it would be beneficial for me to cut back, but I have some other bad habits too I gotta work on too, and I don't really want to get into those. So I don't want to encourage people to have bad habits or anything. We've all got bad habits, but the big one for me is caffeine. And yeah, yeah, in my 30s, I have gotten sent home from work a couple times because I think it happened at least once that I can think of. I was acting really erratic. I probably had like 2 pots of coffee and some of those bai drinks that I really like, those bai waters. They're like 10 calories, and they're supposed to be pretty healthy and stuff. And I I don't know, I guess I had more caffeine than I meant to, and before you know it, I was acting kind of erratically and not like myself, and like the people I work with know that I have bipolar disorder and stuff like that. So there have been times where, like, if I was acting really hyped up, and like I remember one time around Halloween, I bought a whole bunch of candy, and this had nothing to do with my caffeine consumption to my knowledge, but I had I had bought a bunch of Halloween candy because I was really excited about the holiday, and they were like wondering if I was manic and stuff like that. But yeah, so this has kind of been my experience with caffeine. I don't really know how to go about it. I think one of the reasons why it's so hard to cut back is just because I'm just so addicted to the elated feeling I was talking about with like the bipolar mania and stuff, kind of the similar feeling. I'm just so addicted to that feeling. It's kind of hard to think of not feeling that way and just being mellowed out and everything, but I don't know. I don't know if the idea is to cut it out completely or to just cut back, but I'm my therapist of 18 years is retiring, so I'm gonna have a new therapist, and hopefully I can talk to her about maybe cutting back, and hopefully she can be a very valuable asset to my life and give me some advice about cutting back on caffeine. But I just wanted to share my story because I know addiction is a very common thing, especially with bipolar disorder. Well, this is mine. Caffeine is mine. Like I said, I have other bad habits too, but this is kind of the one I feel most comfortable talking about because I'm just afraid if I talk about some of my other bad habits, it's just, I don't want to encourage people to do things that are unhealthy for them. So caffeine is kind of something that I feel like a lot of people drink caffeine to stay awake, to kind of get going through the day, but when it gets to an unhealthy level, that's kind of where you have to kind of take a step back and realize maybe I gotta cut back on this or find some sort of alternative. Maybe I do need to cut back on some of my medication so that I'm not so tired all the time. But thankfully my medication is working and I haven't had a bipolar episode in quite some time, but it's just about finding a happy balance is all. So, until next time, have a great day, guys.